think. Yeah. Long list of cases in the Mishnah about a person making a vow to bring a flour offering. So the first example is the simplest one. You want to bring in a shallow pan, and you bring in a deeper pan, or a deep pan and a shallow pan. We said, which whatever you brought, but you didn't fulfill your obligation. And then the next case was talking about you want to bring 2/10 of an isar and a flour in one vessel, and you brought it in 2 vessels, or in 2 vessels in 1 vessel. Same thing. Whatever you brought, but your vow you did not fulfill. Says the Gemara, why do I need both of these cases? The point is the same, that if I said something and I brought something else, it's no good. It doesn't count as my obligation. So says the Gemara, I need both cases. Why? That when I say a shallow pan and I bring in a deeper pan, or a deeper pan and a shallow pan, I have 2 different pans. There I understand. But maybe if I said 2 measurements of a machavas or in a marchesh, it's the same thing, the same pan. So maybe that'll be good. That we say, no, the second case teaches you that it's not good. And the second case, I understand. You said 2, you're going to split it up now. You say 2 1/10. You're going to put in 1 vessel, it's not going to be good. Or if you say 1, put in 2 vessels, it's also not going to be good. So that's because you're poliglu, you separated it. But there in the first case, you didn't separate it in 2 different vessels. You just used a different vessel. So emalo tzricha. So maybe you thought it should be different and it should be good. That the Mishnah says they're both not good. Tana Rabbana Mashe Behavi they didn't nidra yatsa. The brisa, just like our Mishnah said, whatever you brought, but you still have to fulfill your vow. Rabbi Shimon in the brisa, Rabbi Shimon argues. Rabbi Shimon says, Omer Afi de nidra nami yatsa. No, he holds you actually did fulfill your vow. Okay. Then the Mishnah says, when you say, where's the Mishnah? When you say zu lahavi b'machabas, so instead of hare alai, the first 2 cases was hare alai, it's upon me to bring. Now you're saying hare zu. You point to the flour and you say, this is going to go into a shallow pan, and then you bring it into a deeper pan. Or you say this, you point it to the flour, will be in a deeper pan, and then you bring it in a shallow pan. So that the Mishnah taught us that's invalid. That's no good. So the question is, the Hatanya lo kitchem klisharis. I don't understand this. If you said shallow pan, a machavas, and you put it into a deeper pan, who says that's mekadesh it? Who says it sanctifies it? It's never meant for that. And if it doesn't sanctify it, just put it back in and do it again. So why does Mishnah say it's invalid? You could just go and do it again. That the Gemara says, this middle ground. I'm assuming this is a rabbinic. That Amar Abai lo kitchen li karev al kitchen li pasel. You're right, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not rabbinic. I don't know. But that it's enough to sanctify it. In terms of it being invalid, it'll have invalidations. You can't just put it back. It has a certain level of sanctity. It does not have enough of sanctity to be brought up onto the altar. So you can't just put it back and do it again, because it has a certain level of sanctity that will cause invalidation, just not enough to bring up on the altar. Sounds rabbinic. Yeah. Okay. V'amar Abaye lo shan, the next page, ela shekavan b'shas neder. So now, when you say it's upon me to bring this in a machavas, in a shallow pan, so at what point do we say that it's no good? So says Abaye, if you say this when you're making the neder, you say it, I'll bring it in a shallow pan, a machavas, and you bring it in a marcheshas. But let's say you said at the time of your neder, you said, I'm bringing a mincha. And you didn't specify what. And now, when you're at the time of separating out the flour, so then you say, you know what, this will be for a shallow pan. and then you put it into a deeper pan. What happens in that case? Says the Gemara, no. The neder only works kasher nadarta. The Torah says when you are making the neder. Velo kasher hafrashta, but not when you are separating. So that's not going to work. So if you said a vow, I'll bring a mincha, and you didn't specify, so even though later you say, oh, this is for a machavas, or this is for a marcheshes, that doesn't matter, it's still going to be good. Itmar nami, similarly, Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Chanina, Amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Lo Sham Ela Shekam B'Shas Neder, B'Shas HaPrasha, Lo, Kasher Nadarta, V'Lo Kasher HaFrashta. A brisa, not a brisa, an Amoraic statement in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that says this whole idea of a neder, when it's good, when it's not good, is at the time that the words left your mouth, not at the time of separating the flour from its, from the bag of flour. Okay, that's that. Next Mishnah says, so continuing, so in the other case, it was the right flour, it was just the wrong pan. It was the right flour, just, the wrong measurement, two portions in one vessel, or vice versa. What happens, we know already that there's only two offerings that are brought with barley. There's the sota offering, and there is the omer offering. That's it. Everything else brought with chitin, brought with, not barley, brought with wheat. So now you say, you say, I want to bring a regular flour offering from barley. So now, how are you going to view this? On the one hand, you'll say it's a total zero. It's no good. You can't bring a mincha from barley. Yet the Mishnah says, Yavim menachitim, it's still good. And you're now obligated to bring from wheat. Now,
it says he must bring.
He must bring from wheat. Good. He must bring from wheat. Yeah. So now, two ways to view it. There should be two ways in the Gemara. The first way is, he said, Harei Elai mincha, stop. At that point, in his sentence, everything is good. A mincha is a wheat offering and not a barley offering. So we could stop there, take those words, and erase the second half. That's maybe one option. The other option is that if he didn't know, he made a mistake. He wants to bring a mincha. He just didn't know you can't bring from barley. But of course, he still wants to bring a mincha. So maybe that's enough to obligate him to bring a mincha offering. So that's the first case. Kamach, yavi soles. You bring more coarse flour. You vow to bring coarse flour. You have to bring fine flour. Below shem and below levona, you vow to bring without oil and without the frankincense. Yavi shem or levona. You bring both. Chatzi isar, and you say I'm going to bring half a 1/10 measurement. Yavi isar and shalim. You bring a whole measurement. Isar umechza. Isar umechza. You want to bring 1/10 and a half measurement, which also that there's no such thing. Yavi shnai. You bring two 1/10 measurements. Rabbi Shimon poter. Shimon disagrees. Why? Shelo hisnadev tederech hamisnadvim. This last case, this is not the way that vowers vow. And you veered off the vowers path. You're not accepted in the vowers club. So since you did that, that is not going to be good. Now, the Gemara is bewildered. What in the world's going on over here? The guy says he's going to bring barley flour offering. And we say, oh yeah, you have to bring wheat. Well, he didn't say wheat. He said barley. Amai neder upischoimo. Every neder, so to speak, locks you in. It's usher, or you're obligated now to bring it. It locks you in. A pesach to a neder is an opening. You can, unlock it. So usually when you regret what you did, that could be a option to unlock. So in this case, you clearly don't want to bring anything because you said I'm bringing wheat. You said you're bringing barley. Nobody brings barley. A person knows you don't bring barley. So the fact that he made a vow and he said barley, that shows us he doesn't really want to bring anything. Because Rashi said the person knows you don't bring a mincha from barley. So he said barley, it's like saying I'm going to bring dinosaurs. That's nothing. You're not obligated now to bring wheat. So what's the answer? It's so good. How can our Mishnah say you're obligated to bring a mincha offering of wheat? So two answers. Amar Chizkiya Hamani Beis Shammai. Yeah, usually we're not going to hold like Beis Shammai, and if a Mishnah is anonymous, we go like that. But what can we say? It must be Beis Shammai. What does Beis Shammai hold? The Amri Tafus Lashon Rishon. Beis Shammai says that when you have two statements, one is a valid statement, and the second part is not as valid or not valid, so then you go with the first statement. So in this case, the Harei Alai Mincha is perfect. That's fine. I want to bring a flour offering. Then you messed up and you said it from barley. So you look at it's a contradiction. You contradicted yourself in one statement, a mincha and then barley. So which one is your primary one? So you could say sometimes maybe the last one is your primary one because that's your final statement. But Beis Shammai says no. You go with the first statement. That's really what you wanted. Other ones, you messed up. It's an error. That's not what you wanted. So Tafas Lashon Rishon. Ditnan. How do you know this is true? A guy says, "Hareini nazir min hagroigers min advela." I want to be a nazir from figs, fig cakes, either in the raw state or more ripened state. So 1 second, a nazir is not prohibited from figs. It's like I want to be a nazir from milk chocolate. It doesn't work that way. So it's from yeah. So a nazir from milk chocolate is not going to be good. So and yet, what does Beis Shammai say? Beis Shammai Omer Nazir. How could Beis Shammai say that? Figs is not something which the Torah prohibited. So you see from Beis Shammai, it's a Hareini Nazir. And that's a vow. So that's a Nazir. Afterwards, he tried, it's a messed up, so to speak. Okay, it's already too late. He already vowed a vow. So, yeah. Ubeis Hillel Omrim. Beis Hillel says no. Ain't no Nazir, because he doesn't hold like this. You're not a Nazir. So that is Chizkiah. Our Mishnah must be the opinion of Beis Shammai. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, no, afilu tema Beis Hillel. I want to say it's even Beis Hillel. How could it be Beis Hillel? The Omer, it must be a case where he said, Ilu hayisi yodeya, she'ein nodrin kach, lo hayisi noder kach, elakach. The case is, it sounds like the guy's actually telling us. The guy's telling us, I don't think it's that we assume, I think that he's telling us that I thought this is how people make vows. I didn't realize that's not how people make vows. So for all intents and purposes, he said, I'm bringing a mincha. He didn't realize that that's not the way you say, that's not the way that people talk, that we're going to bring it from barley. So this is a unique case, right? The question of the Gemara was, people know you don't bring from barley. So we're saying, okay, in this case, this guy didn't know. This guy thought that that's how you make vows. So you didn't know. So we'd rather, right? His kid didn't want to say this necessarily because you're making the case very specific. The case sounds very general. On the other hand, what are you going to do? Make it Beis Shammai? That's not good either. It's anonymous Mishnah. It should be according to everybody, or at least according to the one that we hold like Beis Hillel. So Amar Chizkiah. Yeah. So says Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Afil Tia Beis Hillel, Amar Ila Yisi Yadesh, and Noder Kach Elakach. Okay. Now back to Chizkiah. Amar Chizkiah. Lo Shanu Ela Amar Mincha Minasar. Now Chizkiah, who says you go after the first part of the statement, where Harei Alai Mincha, he says the case has to be where he said Mincha Min HaSa'orim. I want to vow a flour offering from barley. Aval Amar Mincha Min HaAdashim. What if a guy said, I want to vow a mincha offering from lentils? He got inspired, Yaakov and Esav, and he decided he wants to bring a flour offering from lentils. So that even Chizkiah says, lo, that's not good. 1 second. Chizkiah told us, you go after the first statement, Harei Alai Mincha, and we don't care what happens afterwards. And now he's coming and telling us that if you say lentils after Harei Alai Mincha, it's no good. 1 second. Chizkiah, who do you hold like? Michti, Chizkiah, Kiman, Amar L'Shmaitza. Who are you? Who's the teaching like? Beis Shammai? Like Beis Shammai? Beis Shammai Mishum Tafas Lashon Rishon. Who? Beis Shammai says you go after the first part of the sentence. Mali Min HaSa'orim, Mali Min HaAdashim. That is all the second part of the sentence. Barley or lentils. Beis Shammai says you go after the first part of the sentence. So of course it should be good. So 1 second, Chizkiah doesn't sound like you're going like Beis Shammai. So it turns out Chizkiah was Hadar Bey. Chizkiah actually retracted his statement that our Mishnah goes like Beis Shammai. Therefore, it's really going like Beis Hillel. And according to Beis Hillel, we're going to have to explain now why when you say barley, it's good, but lentils, it's not good. Now, before we get there, though, what pushed Chizkiah over the edge to retract? Umay Taima Hadar Bey, Amar Rava says, Masnisin Kshishise. the Mishnah is difficult. Chizkiah had a difficulty with the wording of the Mishnah. If you're in the world of Beis Shammai that cares about the first sentence, so what's the bigger novelty? You're going to bring a mincha from lentils, which is never an offering at all, and you'll still say it's good? Biggest novelty. Or from barley, barley is a offering that's brought. So in the world of Beis Shammai, the Mishnah should have taught the bigger novelty from lentils. The fact that it didn't do that pushed Chizkiah over the edge to say it must not be Beis Shammai. Okay, so now it's not Beis Shammai, it's really Beis Hillel. Okay, but in Beis Hillel, how come from barley it's still a good mincha, and from lentils it's not? Ella, you might have to say Shema Mina. And people can't make mistakes, right? So sometimes you understand the mistake, sometimes no. That's just pure negligence. Yeah. So people make a mistake with barley. Barley is an offering that's brought. I forgot it's a sota, it's an omer offering. Okay, that's a mistake you make. Lentils, what does that mean? No one said I'm going to bring a mincha for milk chocolate. So I mean, I thought that's how people make. No, that's not how people make vows. Then not every mistake is excusable. So in this case, it's a shmamina mishum detayihu, mishum detayihu bisaurim tay adashim lo tay. Yeah, no one wakes up and says, oh, lentil mincha today. That's not how it works. So therefore, that's Chizkiah. Says Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu minha adashim. Well, so Rabbi Yochanan sounds like even in the world of Beis Hillel, even from lentils, a flour offering with lentils is going to be good. You're obligated to bring that. Well, then the question is, you should teach that. But the bigger question is, one second. It's not logical to say that Rabbi Yochanan and Chizkiah have a disagreement. Do people or don't people make mistakes about offering flour offerings from lentils? That doesn't sound like a logical debate. So, Michti Rabbi Yochanan came out. Who does Rabbi Yochanan hold like? Beis Hillel, like Beis Hillel. Rabbi Yochanan agrees that Beis Hillel holds Mishum the Tayihu Bisorin, Mishum the Tayihu. The Beis Hillel's rationale is this guy made a mistake. Bisorin Tayi, but Dachin Lo Tayi. Rabbi Yochanan agrees that people don't make mistakes by accident wanting to bring a flour offering, and they said the word lentils. That's not logical. So, what was Rabbi Yochanan saying? That even from a dashim. So says Rabbi Yochanan, I'm telling you that according to Lidvar of the Chizkiah Kama, he's talking in Chizkiah's world. Lidvar of the Chizkiah Kama lay, at my time hadartabach, you Chizkiah, why did you retract and say I'm no longer Beis Shammai? Mishum delokatani min adashim. You said that what pushed you over the edge was it doesn't say from lentils, and in the world of Beis Shammai, that would have been a bigger novelty. Now, Rabbi Yochanan didn't say the Mishnah is Beis Hillel because of that. He had other reasons. So Rabbi Yochanan is saying, according to Chizkiah, you could have said the following. Maybe the Mishnah said barley, but even adashim could have been good. Why didn't the Mishnah then say that? Dilma lomi bayi kamar. It's a lomi bayi format. It's a not necessary to teach format, meaning lomi bayi min ha'adashim. Minha, if a guy says, I'm going to bring a mincha offering, and then he says, from lentils, well, the ikela meimar mahadar hu the hadar bay, the tapatlach and rishon. In the world of Beis Shammai, where's the bigger novelty? The bigger novelty is when you say, I'm going to bring a flour offering, and then you say from barley. Barley, people could actually intend to bring barley offerings, because that's something which is brought. So there's actually a bigger novelty that you meant flour. You meant wheat, not barley. Because barley is something which is brought. And yet we say we disregard it. Lentils, nobody brings. So there's no novelty. It's not such a big novelty to say, I'm going to bring a mincha. I want to bring it for milk chocolate. Oh, you should know he's still chayav. Obviously, no one brings milk chocolate. So nobody thinks that that's going to be something which is going to be brought. So it was unnecessary in Beis Shammai's world to teach adashim, to teach lentils. You would have thought that maybe when a guy says lentils, he's really retracting his statement. And well, too bad, you already uttered your first statement. So you're retracting bringing a mincha offering by saying lentils, but it's too late. We go after your first language because Beis Shammai's rationale is when you have two statements that contradict each other, we go with the first statement. The lentils is a direct contradiction mincha offering. However, elamina seorin nami the iklamemar miti hudikatayi afilu hachi tav lashon rishon. From barley is actually the bigger novelty, because here you could say that seorin barley is not a contradiction to mincha, because sometimes people make mistakes, and therefore we don't say a head-on collision between I want to bring a mincha offering from barley. There you would have thought that maybe in Beis Shammai's world, that in that case maybe he would agree to Beis Hillel that the guy made a mistake. To that we say that no, we go after the first language. We don't say that he made a mistake. We say it's a contradiction. So, I guess presumably, right? Maybe not. No, maybe lentils. No, that's the point. There is no flour of lentils. I want to bring flour from lentils. You can't bring. You don't produce flour from lentils. Even if you crush it, you get hummus. You take it right. Can you make lentil flour? I don't know. Sounds like unprocessed. Just by crushing it, we don't get a lentil flour, but by grinding up barley and wheat, we get flour. Okay. Next page. Survey says. ChatGPT says. Maybe in your line of work. extra boost. You can make lentil flour? I guess by regular grinding, though. So if you can make lentil flour, then I guess it's so off. But everyone knows that that's not what a mincha is. A mincha means flour either from barley or from wheat, not from lentils. Pasta, pancakes, flatbread, and cookies. Okay. So it sounds like you can't make nice ground flour. You can make pasta, pancakes. So, okay. So, next page. Amar Zeiri says, this idea when we say in Beis Shammai's world, when you say mincha, and that's only when you say Elad Amar mincha. Avalo Amar mincha lo. Like, for example, when you say you go after the first language, so it means you say mincha from barley. Those are two statements. But if you put them together, like minchas seorim, minchas is a conjunction. It's a good word for it. It's one thing. You're bringing a minchas seorim, so then that's not two statements. It's one statement. Minchas seorim. There you can't say I'm taking the first language. Meaning, when you say you go after the first language, you have to have two clear statements. So I'm bringing a mincha. That's one statement. From barley is a second statement. But I'm not saying in English. In Hebrew, I'm bringing minchas seorim. The mincha is conjunction. What's the word? You put it together. You're bringing the. Not I'm bringing a ball, which is red. I'm bringing the red ball. The direct modifier. That's an adjective. So when you say minchas seorim, that's one statement. You're bringing a barley. You're bringing barley flour. When you say I'm bringing barley flour, that's one statement. When you say I'm bringing a flour offering from barley, that's two statements. So, okay. So now, Yosef Rav Nachman to come Rav Nachman to say over this teaching, and now Ezer Rav Nachman Rava asked Rav Nachman the following question: Kemach yavi soles. 1 second. It says in the Mishnah, if you bring coarse flour, then you're still obligated to bring fine flour. Well, hold on. It didn't say mincha anywhere. Lav dilo amar mincha. It didn't say mincha, and yet you're still obligated. You told me you have to say the word mincha. When you say the word mincha, so then I understand. Why would they Shammai? Maybe it doesn't mean. Yeah. So says the Gemara, like, is it not a case where you didn't say mincha? Well, the Amar mincha, you have to say when the Mishnah said they're just saying a shortened version, kemach solas, but it's when you said mincha. Then the Mishnah said you want to bring an offering below shemen ulavona, without oil or frankincense. Yavi shemen ulavona, you still bring with oil and frankincense. You didn't say mincha. My love, lomar mincha doesn't say you said the word mincha. Question on Zeiri says no. Lo the Amar mincha. The Mishnah we're just saying in a shortened form. Chatzi yisar and yavi yisar and shalem. You're bringing half a tenth of a measurement. You bring a full measurement. But you didn't say mincha. My love, lomar mincha. Did you not? You didn't say mincha, and you're still obligated. Question on Zeiri says no. The Amar mincha. Okay. If that's true, ema seifa. Look at the end of the Mishnah. What does it say? Isaron umechza. You want to bring a flour offering of 1/10 and a half of 1/10 measurement. The halacha is yavi shnayim. You got to bring 2 1/10 measurements. Now hold on 1 second. Kevan de amar mincha. 1 second. If you said mincha, how's it going to work? Mincha means 1/10. So you're saying I want to bring a mincha, isaron umechza. So you want to bring a mincha, and then you say half. Mincha comes as a 1/10, not a half. So you should only be obligated to be isaron in a 1/10 measurement. How are you obligated in 2 1/10 measurements? So if you always go that the word mincha means a regular mincha offering, so here you said mincha, a tenth and a half. How did you get to that? Then you have to bring 2 1/10s. How does that work? So says the Gemara, Ki amar chetzi isaron lav kluv kamarhu. When you say chetzi isaron, that's a nothing. We don't view that as a valid statement because 1 second. Sorry. That's the question. You say mincha 1/10 flour offering. Ki amar chetzi isaron lav klum kamar. That's a nothing. You can't bring a one. It's like a contradiction to the first statement. You can't bring half of a 1/10 measurement. So why does the Mishnah say you're obligated to bring 2 measurements? Lo tzricha, the case must be the amar harei mincha chatzi isaron ve'isaron. You said a statement like this: I'm going to bring a flour offering, half of a 1/10 measurement and a 1/10 measurement. So the kaven the amar mincha. Since you said the word mincha, ichayev le beisaron, you now have to bring 1/10. Ki amar chatzi isaron v'lo klum kamar. So well, that's a nothing. What does that mean? Half of 1/10 measure. That's a nothing. Then ki hadar amar isaron. Then you went and said, I want to bring a 1/10. Well, that's another offering. Ma'isi isaron achrina. He said mincha in the beginning, 1/10 in the end. That's 2 offerings. In the middle, you said half of 1/10. That's a 0. Okay. It's so good. Rabbi Shimon Poter. Rabbi Shimon though says you're exempt from bringing it. Shalom to his nadim. You didn't make a neder like the way people make nedarim. Why not? According to what we just said, it's a case of a mincha, half of 1/10. 1/10. What's wrong with that? Amarava, Rabbi Shimon, Vishitas, Rabbi Yossi, Amra, the Amr, Af Bigmar Dvarav, Adam Matris. Rabbi Shimon disagrees in our mission on this case because he really goes like Rabbi Yossi. That there's really 3 opinions, at least. When you have a statement that has a beginning and an end, and those 2 might be contradictory. So do you go after the beginning? That was Beis Shammai. Do you go after the end? Or according to Rabbi Yossi, you go after neither. You go after the whole thing. You look at the whole picture. So according to Rabbi Shimon, you look at the whole picture. So what happened here? You say mincha chatzi isaron ve'isaron. So the way Rabbi Yossi would understand this statement is you're interpreting what kind of mincha you want to bring. You want to bring a mincha of a half of 1/10 offering and a 1/10 offering. Nobody does that. No one brings a mincha of a 1/10 of a half of 1/10 offering and then a 1/10 offering, a 1/10 measurement. No one does that. So because he looks at the whole, he doesn't break up the statement the way we did. We broke up into 3. Mincha is 1. That means you bring a regular offering. Then you say, contradicting what you said, really, a seeming retraction. Oh, half of a 1/10. Well, that's nothing because you already said mincha. Too late. You said another statement at the end, which is not contradictory. You said 1/10 of a measurement. Okay, so you bring another 1/10 measurement. So we who divide it up like that can do that. But Rabbi Yossi, who Rabbi Shimon's going, like, looks at the big picture. So when he hears that statement, he hears that when you say mincha, you interpret the mincha as a half of a 1/10 measurement, and then 1/10 measurement. No one talks like that. No one makes those kind of darim. Therefore, you're not obligated to bring a mincha offering. Okay. Now, misnadev other mincha shel shishim isarim. A person offers a flour offering of 60 1/10 measurements. Well, maybe bikli echad, you're going to bring it in one vessel. But im amar harei lai shishim ve'echad, you say 61, maybe shishim bikli echad ve'echad bikli echad. If you want to say, if you say you're bringing 61, now you have to have two vessels, one containing 60 and one containing 1. And therefore, you get 61. So, why? Shekain hatzibur maybe b'yom tov harishon shel chad shechadus b'Shabbos. If the first day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, so the congregation brings 61. So that's still a valid amount. So dayo liyachid shu pachos min hatzibur echad. So just like we have that a congregation, their maximum amount they could bring is 61. Okay, so for an individual, you bring a little less than that in one vessel. You bring 60 in one vessel and 1 in another vessel. Now, the question is going to be on this is that, yes, they brought 61 measurements, 1/10 measurements, it's true. But they didn't put it all in one vessel. It was for, like Rashi goes through it, like we lane, it says it was for, for 13 bulls, you brought 3 1/10 measurements. That's 39. Then for 14 sheep you brought 14 1/10 measurements. For the rams you brought 4, and then for the 2 tamidin, the 2 daily offerings you brought another 2, and then on Shabbos Musaf you brought another 2. But they didn't all go in one vessel; they're all different. Some had oil, some had different textures, thicker, thinner. But it sounds like one vessel could contain that much, like the max. Amar Rabbi Shimon, he said, what do you mean? They're not mixed together. So Ella like this. Ad shishim yicholen livolo. It sounds like until 60, they could stay together. You can mix it together in one vessel. It's still mixable. Once you have 61, now it's not mixable anymore. That's why in this vessel you offer a flour offering, and Rashi points out we had earlier different opinions of how much flour, how much oil you need. You need 60 things of oil or only 1? So he says we're going like the opinion earlier of Rabbi Dovid ben Yaakov that when you offer 60 offerings of flour, 60 1/10 measurements of flour, you only need 1 lug of shemen. And it is mixable as when there's 60. If there's 61, it's not mixable. Amrulo, I don't get it. Shishim nivlolim, like what does that mean? 60 you can mix, 61 you can't mix? So the answer is, what do you mean? Amr lahem. I mean, it sounds like it's too little, like that little amount, you really can't mix that. So he says back, well, this is not a new phenomenon. Don't blame me. Amr lahem, kol midos chachamim king. All the measurements of the rabbi are like this. People might have a hard time with this, but this is what it is. The Arbaim saw who Tovel. Was it you? No, it was AY last night. Yeah, 40 saw you go to the mikvah, and you know what happens if you have 40 saw minus a tiny little bit? No good. Arbaim saw chaser korta, small amount. That's not a kosher mikvah. So to here, 60, 61, no. So he deflected the question by saying there's other places that we find, these very, very exact numbers. Now, Sha'il She'ela Lamala Mireb Yehuda Barilai. There's a question came from above, from Rabbi Yehuda Barilai. He asked the question. He was like from the heads. Minayin la'omer harei alai shishim ve'echad, maybe shishim ve'echad ve'echad b'kli echad. How do you know? I guess it was asked to him. How do you know that when you say 61, I'm going to bring a flat offering of 61, you offer 60 in one vessel and 1 in another vessel? Pasach Rabbi Barilai. So who, a room full of rabbis, who opens up first? Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. Why? Rosh Hamadabrim B'chol Makom. He's the head speaker in every place. He's the first one to talk. Not like that. He's the first one because he's the most honorable. Not because he's the first one who likes to say his opinion. So B'chol Makom. The Amar, he says, on Sukkot that falls out on Shabbos, the first day we bring 61 shishim v'echad. So therefore, we find that the congregation brings 61, so let the individual bring 60. Those 61 come from so many different kinds of flour offerings. So you have thicker and you have thinner, you have different bulls and rams. These you bring sometimes in the morning, some in the afternoon. You don't put them all together and mix it up. So Amrata, so he said, say to him the following. Say to them, Amr lahem, Arehu Omer v'chol mincha bula b'shemen v'chareva. So it says you should bring every mincha offering which is mixed and then it's dry. Kvar Amr Torah hevi mincha sheyichol libala. Bring an offering that you're able to mix together. So Amr le b'shishim nevalim b'shishim echadei nevalim. Yeah, so he told them 60 you could mix, 61 you can't mix. So Amar Lo, they asked them. So Amar Lo, he told them, Kol minat chanum came. Every measurement of the rabbis is like that. Bar ba'im sahu tovel, bar ba'im sah chazakartim enon yachol itfal. 40 saw you go to the mikvah. 40 saw minus a little bit, you can't go to the mikvah. Kibeitza metamim timas ochel. An egg's worth is the amount that contaminates, that can contaminate, can give over the contamination. Kibeitza chazar shumshum. An egg minus a sesame seed. Ein metamik will not contaminate, will not give over its impurity. Shlosha metamim midras. They have 3 by 3 tvachim that contaminate by clothing that that's that measurement that can, if you lie down on it now, then it's going to contaminate you. But a minus 1 thread, ein metamim midras, is not going to contaminate you if you lie down on it. Says the Gemara, okay, but v'chi ein nevolin my habit. So you can mix it together. Who cares? The Hatanan, the Mishnah said, in lo balo kasher. You don't need to mix it. It works. That's the best thing to do. But if you don't do it, you don't do it. So it says the Gemara, famous line, comes up in a lot of places. Amar Rabbi Zera. The rule is like this. Kol haroy lebila ein bila ma'akeves bo. Anything which is fit for mixing, if you don't mix it, so then it's not ma'akev. It doesn't prevent it from being valid. However, v'kol she'en haroy lebila bila ma'akeves bo. Anything which you can't mix, so then the mixing prevents it from taking place. So 61 can't be mixed. So you're right, you don't have to mix it. It's a mitzvah to do, but you don't have to do it, but it has to be able to do it. 61, you're not even able to do it, and that's why it's no good.